Caribbean islands,
Yes.
for the Caribbean
Yes.
people. It
Yes.
can happen, and if you're passionate about it, it will happen.
No,
I am on board. That's
We
my
appreciate
passion.
that.
It is my
Yes,
dream.
thank you. Thank
It's
you.
my dream, and wherever you go, I will follow whether you want me or not.
That's a real
That's
LUCIA.
right. That's right. Well, you know what? I'm taking your name down because I have a job for you.
Well, I'm thinking
Excellent.
one of the jobs is that we are taking free submissions today and tomorrow.
Yes,
So
free.
please let people
Free.
know we're taking free submissions today and tomorrow.
They can bring them to the hotel. We may even be able to do Saturday at some point.
She said Saturday from 2 p.m. we'll be down in Soufriere because being a Lucian, I always know the north and the south, right? Everything, and we forget about the south. We fly into the south, we drive to the north. Okay? So I want to make sure we touch the whole island. This is not about just the north. This is about the island of St. Lucia. So Saturday we're going to be down at Soufriere at Orlando's restaurant. We're going to be doing a Q&A with the people, meeting the people down. So if you know anyone down there,
Yeah.
please have them come to Orlando's at
Yeah.
2 p.m. in Soufriere because we want to make sure the Lucians across the island know what we're doing.
I know you had a question.
Yeah.
Here.
Actually, I just wanted to support what the city effort was saying. To add though, that one of the problems, and you touched on it a little earlier when you said that you had spoken to some young artists and they said, nobody cares or that sort of thing. It's simply this, that we focus initially a lot on the need for education, the training and stuff. And then at the end of the day, we hand certificates and we hand awards. And then we tell you go out, sink or swim. And so one of the approaches that we are taking at Malfini is simply this, and I think it's something that is going to take hold and take root around the Caribbean pretty soon, is that you need to connect the capacity, creative capacity, to the production platform. Somehow you need to create that
To bridge
synergy.
that.
If you don't do that, you're actually training persons at your solution, so you know, who are qualified in one thing and who work in a supermarket when they're done. And so you want to avoid that. So
Yeah.
the idea here would be that, yes, the training is fine, but there must be some sort of synergy created to translate that talent when it has been created into the production platform.
Do you think, so that's a very good point, and I thought that doing the film festival and providing an outlet for them to expand beyond the island would be a good idea. Do you have any other suggestions for us how we could bridge that gap? Because I don't want to have, because I think that creates more frustration to educate someone how to do something and then not help them to do it. That sort of defeats the purpose. So to the extent that you have any suggestions of how we could bridge that, we want to hear that.
And what,
Yeah.
here we have two in the back.
In listening to Catherine and knowing kind of the challenges with the funding and that, it is one of the things that maybe your presence and you could look at is kind of attempting to educate our banking system on that funding things like this can be profitable because they're
Yes.
very afraid of anything to do with the arts. They
Yeah.
don't view it as potentially fundable, but film is probably one of the ones alongside music that's the most likely to convince them. So if you as successful producers can do something towards that, it would be good. I don't know whether there are agencies such
Yeah.
as our Trade Export Promotion Agency that you can talk to
Yeah.
as well along those lines. And just on a different
So there may be some way, and we'll have to talk to a lot of investors about this, but there may be some way that we can get those investors to maybe fund at least one project a year from St. Lucia. So we'll definitely look into that. And this is why I need you guys to be talking to us, whether you're contacting us via email or calling us or whatever, because it's a process and we want to get it right. And there's so many things we're not thinking about because this is our first year out. But the funding is important. The bridging the gap is important. The social media is critical because without an audience, you're never going to make any money. So how to build that audience is important, and the ongoing education that's going to be needed. And how do we provide that from New York, which is the hub where we have all of the resources? And how do we get people to buy into that? Because a lot of the people who work in New York make money doing this. And for me to say to them, I need you to do it for free because they can't afford it, I have to build in incentives. And so we're going to work on trying to figure out how to do that. So, but yes, thank you. Those are very good points.
Just to build on what the last two speakers, contributors made, in the training component, I don't know if I missed it because I did come in late, but you spoke about workshops and so on, and it all seemed technical, given that the technical hands-on skill. But I think that what is also needed is some kind of education on what is industry standard and the business of film and television.
That's what I do.
Because if you miss those fundamentals, I think that you limit your product.
Yeah,
And there isn't a lot of that.
that's important.
And
That's
in
critical.
the business of television, which falls under producing, and I'm a producer by the way, of film and television. You would then, you have the industry knowledge of how your projects are funded through investors and venture capitalists and all of that, crowdfunding. I have done projects through successfully crowdfunding it and Kickstarter. Of course, your networks and all of that would determine the success of that effort. But you can also, if you have that broad knowledge,
Yes.
you can then transport it in a local context and apply global knowledge, regional context to come up with creative ways in which you can raise money for your project.
Absolutely. You bring up a great point.
Banks, just to touch on you, traditionally, I don't know in the US either, industry standards, banks fund movies. They don't, as far as I know. I don't know, you can tell me.
Well, they do provide bridge loans.
But those are highly secured by the producers.
Absolutely,
You have-
absolutely.
You have to secure. They're not doing it based on the project.
They do have some funds, though. Some banks do have funds dedicated to filmmaking. They're not in the business of making movies. They aren't. But the people behind them with the money often are. I don't direct anything. I don't write anything. I only produce. So when it comes to the technical aspect and having reliable people who really understand that is important, because that's another thing. If you don't get the right team, you waste your money.
The right talent for the job.
See, even though banks don't fund film, every bank has a board of directors. Those board of directors have other businesses. So it's not, for me, I don't look at only one aspect of the circle. The circle has 360 degrees. You're only one degree. You have other parts of the bank that people in the bank know people who have money. So it's tapping into the services and the knowledge of those people on the board that will point you in the direction of what you need.
That's what you were saying, which is great. That's a great point, too. And as a producer, I am constantly looking for money. Always. I wake up every day, I'm looking for money because I have projects to produce and I have to be able to fund them. But I also have to be able to prove that those projects are going to be profitable. And for every project that I make that's not profitable, I lose investors. And so it is very stressful. But that is such an important piece because without the money, you can't make the projects. So that's certainly one area, and I made a note here, the business of producing and how that's going to work. That's excellent. And the funding is very important, and we're going to probably talk to some legal people here to find out how that works here on the island.
And managing the risk as well.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand that there are risks involved
Always.
in creative projects. And
Yes.
they miss that.
Yes.
And the producer can't fix it in the end product. You have to fix it in the beginning. So
Yes.
some more
Yes.
education on that, the business, producing.
Yes.
Producing and
Yes.
the business side of the industry. And what is industry standard? Because whilst you're not necessarily comparing what you get out of St. Lucia with perhaps what's on a major network, I still think understanding what is industry standard will assist in something to aspire to. And at least not limit your product to just
Yeah.
And that's a piece definitely that we've talked about with the training and understanding what's needed and the various levels of training, because it's the idea, obviously with the media, film industry opens you up to the world. And so as you're mentioning industry standard, we need to know what that is because it's going to be constantly elevating. And so that awareness. And one of the things that Emlyn does is that she does give feedback on her website. She'll talk about to the different aspects that are needed. So as we're having these conversations, she then says, okay, this is a need, and then we'll put it out there to help the education for different people.
And one thing I did yesterday, since after the meeting with the tourists, but I actually started a group page on Facebook for PITON Film Festival, to where you can actually go, you can post information, put information. We need to use all the resources before you came to talk. Film business touches everything in life. So we have to show the people the education, everything from the technical to the creative side, everything is going to be touched. That's why it's $1 billion business. That's why it's $1 billion. It touches everything, and we need your help to see how can we make St. Lucia a viable place for filmmakers to come.
Yeah, and with that said, I'm listening to you, and I understand that you have tremendous amount of knowledge. And one of the things that we would want to do is get you to share that. So, yeah, I saw you. but that's what it's going to take. We don't want to just bring people from outside to come here to teach people stuff that you already know and that you can share with your own people. So to the extent that you're able to produce, how did you do your first producing project? And it's much more believable sometimes when it comes from people in their own circle. So you're in trouble because I'm going to be calling you I will call you and asking you. And you have made 3 feature films. Where did you find the money to do that? And maybe we'll create a panel where you guys can explain, because I can say whatever I want, but I leave and get on a plane and go to New York. And so it's something else when they hear it from you and you're here. And you can say, you know what, I was able to do 3 feature films. How'd you do that? I'm able to produce projects for television. Well, how did you do that? You know, I'm able to find funding. Well, how did you do that? So we definitely want to use the resources that are here to help the people that are here. So if any of you have an area of expertise, something you can share, the young people and the people with dreams would highly appreciate it. And we have a place for you, and we will provide a venue and a platform for you to be able to share that information.
And one of the things that we always talk about in Sisters in Harmony is making sure when we go places that we understand the language and the need of the people that we're going to, because we don't want to come in and be, oh, we know how to do this best and bring our stuff in, when the reality is you may need something else. And so we need to listen to the need as well as tap into the wisdom, the knowledge, and the resources that are already here. Because for me to come in and speak is one thing, for you to come in and say, and bring that piece in. They're going. I'm learning.
So that's why I made the point about global reference, local context.
Excellent.
You can apply that.
That's a Facebook post. Say that again. Wait. Global what?
Global reference. So you have the standard
Local.
industry standards, but it might need to be tweaked.
Yes.
Because the way I fund my project now is not necessarily how I would approach it if I were in New York, for example. So you just optimize the market and then tailor it for the specific market.
Yes.
See, the good thing about Emlyn, she's going back to New York. That's a very good thing, because she's building a bridge. She said when she goes back to New York, this was the second time in St. Lucia? First time doesn't count. First time doesn't count.
I was on vacation the first time.
But this is officially her first time in St. Lucia,
Yeah.
right? So the good thing for us here in St. Lucia, she's going back to New York. She's going to be building a bridge with you all. Everyone here should have her Facebook information, all her information, so you can link up with her, because she's going to come back in September. See, we never had this in St. Lucia, an executive producer from New York who has links, and her co-founders of One Lucian, that you actually now have a bridge into New York for filmmaking, the business of filming. Now you have a bridge. And you know her personally. You don't have to call someone to get to her. You know her right, she's right here. You know her. So now we have what's been missing. We have that piece of the bridge to where now we can actually reach out to New York through Emma and Stewart Film to make this happen. Because you know, we have a radio show, Sisters in Harmony, and we have a segment called Island Living, right? I had a LUCIA name that for me. I have the hardest time getting people on that link. On the it's a 30-minute link once a month to talk about not only St. Lucia but the Caribbean, what's going on in the Caribbean. It boggles my mind, and we pay for the time. I'm the founder and I'm the president of Sisters in Harmony. Okay, and I said I was here doing jazz. And I'm looking for people to help me with this island living because I want to put a spot. This is before I met her. Put a spotlight on St. Lucia and what's going on in the Caribbean. I can't make it tonight. And I was looking like, I said, I want 4 people, so if one can't make it, we have 3 more to pull on. And I'm still looking for them. We Skype them in. We Skype, so you have Skype, we Skype you into the show. 30 minutes once a month. Once a month, 30 minutes on to talk about island living. And I'm having a challenge. I had to cancel a couple of, I'm having a challenge getting people on that show. Because once again, the mindset is a hobby. No, it's not a hobby. Because when you're on that, on the blog radio, everything is recorded and it's played over and over, and you send the link to anywhere you want in the world. And I'm having a challenge with that.
Yeah, sometimes it's the value. So just to recap, because I don't want to keep you guys here too long. So we talked about what we're trying to do, and what we're sort of our takeaways from what we're listening and what we heard from you is that there has to be a focus on education after we leave, and it has to be affordable and to provide. We have to talk about what the industry standards are, the business of making films, business of producing, again, the funding and banks and see if we can get together maybe some angel investors, the resources, and of course, global reference, local context.
That's right.
Is there anything else you guys think that you want us to have as a takeaway today?
I hear the question.
Question?
No, not really a question.
Okay.
I just wanted to tell you guys thanks for coming because, like, your being here really set my imagination on fire.
All right.
So,
That's what's
Yeah.
up.
because I'm literally a living testament to what Mr. Brad was saying because I'm a writer / director / animator.
Okay.
And I almost literally just gave up on my dreams career. I didn't know where to go, nothing to do with it. I literally took a steps to the government, all that. Nothing came through with me, so.
Yeah.
But then happily pulled me from a little dude and yeah. In this today, yeah, I will be making a lot of movies.
So you were trying to make projects.
Yeah, I literally
And-
have 2 graphic novels in progress and some movie ideas, and I'm doing animation at the moment. So, yeah.
And you found, is the issue that you found no support?
No support.
Okay.
I tried my best, but now things kind of picking up now. And
Okay.
with you guys here, well,
Yeah.
I'll be famous soon.
That's good.
Remember
That's
us.
good. So what would you describe as a filmmaker here? What is, if you had to identify the biggest challenge for you? Because you want to do it, you have the ability to do it, you're working hard. What's the wall?
Alright, for me there are 2 walls. The first wall is that, everywhere I went, like I said, they were saying, we don't have the money, or it's not on our priority list, or stuff like that. The second wall for me as a LUCIA is all the working I have to do, like all this money. But,
We got to get a transportation fund.
that's basically it. Because I went to all the different places, and first place I went was the Ministry of Education, asking them, they could help me out with this, because I wanted to go to a school that wanted me overseas.
Yes,
But,
okay.
they told me it's not on their priority list. And then I'm like, really? Not on your priority list? So, then they sent me to a place like their bank or something, telling me to check them. And when I went to the bank, which was a long walk away, they were telling me, well, it's the government's priority list that they follow. So I'm like, I work here for no reason.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Mr. Branford pretty much helped me out when he started building his studio for animation, which was basically my dream because
Yeah.
from the time my mother gave birth to me, I had a pen and paper in my hand.
Mhm.
This was
That's
basically
great.
me from the very beginning. And I'm very happy that I have that opportunity now. And yeah, I'll continue to say it. You guys are going to be famous on the 5th and the 7th.
That's good. That's good. So if you, aside from the money, right? Because there's money problems for film everywhere. Hollywood is having the problem because all of the money is going to X-Men and Transformers and all the big films and the sequels of the big films because the big films make money, so they just keep pumping more money into those. And so we see the same 10 people on the screen for 10 years until it stops making money, right? So they're not really open to doing a lot of new projects. So we're having to self-fund a lot of stuff. So if we linked you up with a producer and a camera person and a lighting person and a sound mixer, right? Then you would be able to do your project, correct? Okay, because then you wouldn't necessarily need the money. So that's one of the things we were talking about, because a lot of our projects in New York are made by the networking of filmmakers. So they all get together because they all want credits, right? Because in order for them to get money, they have to show they can do it. And the best way to do that is to link up with somebody else. If you're not a writer, then you want to link up with a writer who has a great story. And working together, yes, you will all have to walk very far, but it will get done. And ultimately, at this stage of the game, it's what do you have to do to get it done? And it may mean that it takes you longer than someone else is doing the same project. It may mean that you have to work with a bunch of different people. But I think if we can create a networking situation, and maybe we will do that through Facebook, where we have everybody sort of post what they do, who are here, and then we group people together. So if you're a writer and you're writing great stuff, then maybe we link you up with somebody who can shoot the stuff and the actors, and we can create this networking environment where we can get this done. Because you'll never know how good you are until you are able to do it. So.
And I want to say something.
Okay.
What we're looking at right here is, I want you to think about this. The U.S. has Hollywood, Nigeria has Nollywood, India has Bollywood. Where's Caribwood?
Lucianwood.
I'm serious. Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, again, I'm very enthusiastic about this. Speaking on behalf of the Audiovisual and Film Association.
One of our sponsors, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you. So, it's because from the time we heard this, it's something that we really wanted to be on board from the get-go. What we're talking about also was about the networking opportunities. And we already have, to some extent, some of that happening. And that's why we created the Audiovisual and Film Association. It's because we realize and recognize that they have a number of different talented persons, but they might not necessarily be all in the same room.
Yes.
And so what happens is that the projects sometimes suffer. And so we said, okay, what if we just got all the persons in the same room and decided that we can work collaboratively on projects. And so we already started that initiative. We actually had a pitching session where different members pitched stories.
Did you know about that? Did you know about him? And what he's doing? Okay. Just
Right.
It would have been Julia's fault if he didn't.
yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure.
So what I think we can do, of course, is jump off, basically join the whole thing, working collaboratively together, and then bring this to a new level. But definitely working together and producing projects of a certain standard, and where everybody brings their
talent.
Glad. Just to add to that, I should say also the Cultural Development Foundation recently purchased a large, mediumly large screen and a projector, and we're looking at sound as well, with the idea that we will be able to show local films and probably Caribbean films regularly, like create something like a Signature Caribbean film night that happens at least once a month.
We would love to host that. That would be great.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's definitely feedback that we've gotten.
Yeah. That's great, and maybe we could work something out where even if you did it as sort of a contest, and the winner that comes out of what you're doing gets free submission and gets a chance, or some kind of something, I think that would be great, because it gives people an incentive to be involved.
Right.
So,
What about
okay.
the criteria of the actual submissions? Is there a specific criteria, and what should they know about the judges?
We, currently, we don't have, normally there are restrictions on time. Like if the film was made more than 2 years ago, a lot of film festivals won't take it. We have opened that up, and we will take films no matter when they were shot. Because we realize that it could be that a great film was shot 5 years ago, a great documentary was done 10 years ago, and that filmmaker unfortunately never found an outlet for it. So we are completely open to films that, you know, have been shot whenever. We are looking for quality. We don't want to put up films that are, the sound is bad, the picture quality is bad, the stories aren't appropriate. So those are sort of our standards. But this year, because it is our first year, we're pretty much wide open. We want to see what's out there, and we don't want to close the door on anyone.
Now, in 2 to 3 years, it'll be different,
Yeah.
okay? So
Yeah. When everybody here is making films, we're going to have to definitely.
step our game
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think her question is key though, because what I think I understand from her question is
Yeah.
that do you have a published criteria that you'll be posting on your website?
There is,
so
yep,
that people can be guided
yeah.
as to how they do the submissions and also what comes out of the submission?
Yes.
So that's
We
one
have-
of the benefits.
We have Film Freeway is the platform that it's the second largest film submission in the world. So we're using them, and all of our rules and regulations are there. Yes, everything is there, and it's a matter of just clicking and uploading. And there is a form that you have to fill out as a filmmaker, sort of explaining the project, synopsis. But Film Freeway is great. That's what we're using in New York. We also use Without a Box. I didn't want to use that here in St. Lucia because it is expensive, and it provides the same service. We're using it in New York because the filmmakers are already registered to it, and they've been using it for years. But here, it's, you know, there is no extra charge for the filmmaker to submit.
Thank you for that question. Because
And
But all of the instructions are on Film
Yeah,
Freeway.
when you click
through our
on Film
website.
Freeway, it'll tell you the categories, those 5 categories again for submission. It will give you the cost. We've
Yep.
kept the cost very low because we wanted to make sure people could enter into the film festival. Okay, so that's all there. I know you had a question in the corner.
Is there a limit to the number of entries in one festival?
No, we have no limit to the number of entries because we do realize that somebody who has been filming for many years may have a lot of films, and while you may think one film is your best, the judges may look at it and think that another film is your best. So it is open to as many submissions as you want to submit.
what's your name?
I was also wondering, you mentioned Australia and Thailand
Yeah.
and Canada. Since you have such a specific focus on St. Lucian films, would the other external foreign films affect the final 5?
They will be considered equally. Because it's not just about putting your films, let's say, on the screen. You also need to see what other people are doing who care about you watching it as somebody who lives here. So because we open that up, they have to be considered equally. So in the end, we may not, although we're going to screen several movies in each category, so there may be 3 features, and then one of those features will win, but we will screen all 3 of them, you know, during the screening process. They will be considered equally. So it may be that some will be from filmmakers in St. Lucia, and some may be, you know, and it could be a Lucian filmmaker who lives in Canada and wants his family here to see his film, so he's submitting. So yeah, they're going to be considered equally.
So because last year, there's another film festival I helped them with, Divana Lee, everyone know her. We actually got her film in New York. So this is a challenge to the Lucian filmmakers. See, because if it's only Lucian filmmakers, then this, you know him, no, but you know what, we're going to take you, we're going to put you on the world stage now. It's time to dance.